Welcome everyone to December 20th, 2021. Hello, I see you. I see all of you. Good to see you. I know it's lovely smiles. Irina, I think I'm saying it correctly. Your lovely smiles. And oh, I just love looking around and seeing all of you. Sue, hi, Pauline, hi, Susanna. Oh, you're staying up late, right? I think, right? And Carla, Linda, Claire's there, Sally. I'm thinking Yogi Red must be somebody with a yogi. She's a yogini. Lynn and Marilyn and hi, Richard and Juliet. Mary's there, I think, and so on and so forth. So thank you. All of you are coming in. And it's really, really, really hard to, and hi, Diane, I think. And it's hard to believe that today is December 20th. So I always have to kind of pause. And I decided to be very festive. You can tell, candles lit, twinkle lights. I'm getting all ready for the way making, I think. But it's so nice to be with you, really. And I honor the light that shines within you. And I know you honor the light that shines within me and Chris. So that's what namaste means, right? We bring our hands together and we're bowing towards each other's light. And so let's take a moment and do that. But first, before you bow, just notice your light inside you that you've always had since you're a little child. You always had it. Nobody could take that light away from you. Recognize that in you, because if you don't recognize that in you, you can't recognize that light in others. That's very, very important that you start with you. And then let's, as collective, let's bow towards each other as we honor each other's light. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. And Chris, do you want to get started? I'm shuffling the card today. So
I think where I wanted to start, maybe I'll start with announcements in just a second here, but one of the things that I wanted to comment on is what you wrote in the announcement for the call today, which was about 2022 being the year of the tiger. So we're no longer trudging along, if that's what we were doing at all, in 2021, the year of the ox. And now it's the year of the tiger coming. And you said, be prepared to hit the ground running. And I think that for so many people, and I would include myself here, but for so many people, 2021 was such a time of change and just newness. Maybe not newness that we wanted or asked for, but nevertheless, we got it. And so what really struck me about this idea of hitting the ground running is that probably a lot of us felt like we've been running already for a while. And so it reminded me of, I recently read a poem, and it was a translation of Saint Teresa of Avila by Daniel Ledinsky. I don't have it right in front of me, but I'm reminded of it. And basically what she's saying is, for everybody, she's talking about all the serious priests and everyone around her. She said, for all those people that aren't able to basically feel the joy of life, she said, apparently God isn't tickling them hard enough yet. And so I got this image of, this running faster than 2021. If we have to run faster in 2022, then it almost just becomes so absurd that it's funny. And that's how I experience it. It's almost like the tickling is just now really starting to get intense. And that's what it's starting to make me feel like I want to do, is just laugh, because it's getting a little silly, a little absurd. So get ready, keep on building those foundations up, and maybe try to enjoy being tickled by whatever life is throwing at you in this year to come. And so just to pick up on that, if I can just jump into the announcements, I wanted to remind everyone, this is in the reminder, it's in the email that Masami sent out for the call this week. And I'm going to put the link up, but Masami is going to be appearing in this special holiday summit celebration. Oh, I'm sorry, I just grabbed the link. It's going to make it from I'll come back and put these up in a minute. I'm going to put up 3 links and I'll get the correct ones for you because I think the one I just posted isn't going to work. So I'll come back. The first one is the summit for celebrating the holidays. The second one, which Masami may want to comment on too, is about our waymaking, and we'll say more about that in just a little bit here. That's coming up on the 30th. And then also, if there's a lucky person here that's ready to jump on this, Masami also has one last spot out of all of the small group sessions that she posted up. They went very quickly, but there's one date with one spot left, and I'm going to put it up there. This is a direct link to access that. So somebody
that was the new one that I added. So probably you didn't know about it unless you are frequenting my website. So
the first round filled up in about 24 hours. So there's just one spot left. So if somebody can make that work and that works for them and they want to grab it now, there's the link. So those are the announcements for now. You can follow some of these links in the email that Masami sent out for this week's call as well. And that's it. Okay, I'll stop. Hand it over and you got your card.
Yeah, and then we can talk about waymaking because it's perfect. It's like happening all over the place. So I shuffled the cards. I didn't have to think too much. I just cut it and I shuffled a couple times, and it's like one was like really wanting my attention. So, I picked it from the good old ones, right? Wisdom of the Oracle, right? You know this one, Colette's one. I'm sure many of you have this, and it's perfect. So the one I picked is called Between Worlds. And you can see the flamingo is walking between the 2 worlds. Okay. It's not good or bad. Don't get into the black and white thinking. Okay. It's just, to me, it's perfect for this time. And before I read what she wrote on this, I wanted to mention that this week is pretty powerful, right? Started out with the full moon and the solstice, and Venus going retrograde started on the 19th. So yesterday, and it's going to go on till the 29th of January, I believe. So there's a lot of kind of bridging between the old worlds and the new worlds. And this is why waymaking is so important, because you want to create the time for yourself to revisit, reassess, and remember, and then so that you can access what you've learned, but then you can take it to the next level. And so it's this in-between time is where we're at right now. Okay. Right in the middle, between worlds. That's where we're at. Okay. So week of this week, I wrote down some notes here. Potential, we're going to be experiencing some expansions and opportunities and creativity. So maybe some of you are feeling some of that. I am already experiencing so much expansions this week. It's unreal. I had 2 interviews before I got on the call today, and that led me to more opportunities, but more like these amazing people that I'm connecting virtually from all over the world. It's pretty fascinating what happens and how astrological moon cycles and planetary cycles are really impacting all of us, but impacting in terms of really, if you can allow the planetary systems to support you, there's so much support system out there. I think a lot of us look at the planetary world and say, oh my gosh, I need to be careful about that. Or, you buy calendars that says, do not go into the new projects on this day. Like, we tend to go towards the negative and avoid the pain, right? What I'm saying is lean into what the universe is trying to support you on this journey. There's so much support out there. It's incredible. So, support that comes from the forest, the trees, the rivers, the creeks, the blades of grass, look at the things and they're all supporting you, but you have to quiet down enough to listen to them, right? So I think if you could choose these like astrological movements and shifts from a different perspective, instead of like, oh no, this is going to happen. Oh no, what's going on? Oh my God, the word retrograde just makes me kind of scared. It's like, no, these such a beautiful opportunity. So that's one, expansion and creativity and potential possibilities, huge this week. Even though this is the week that most of us wrap up sooner because of the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and so on and so forth, there's a lot that can unfold. So like, welcome that. Okay. So that means your inner body has to be ready. If you're constipated, your bile's not flowing, your phlegm is coming up because you're eating too much brie cheese and dairy foods, and then you're just coughing up the mucus, and then you got gooey stuff coming out of your eyes, and then, you got sticky ears. Okay. You're not going to be able to receive. All right. So work on your flow. Okay. And then, so it begins with you, really, really begins with you. And there's major energetic shifts this week that's can feel a little bit like excitement and overwhelming at the same time. Have you seen little kids that get so excited about their birthday gifts, or they're so excited the Santa's coming that they just kind of almost lose it? Okay. It's that kind of a feeling, the intensity of that we could be experiencing as an adult. Okay. So you know how to ground yourself, I'm assuming. So then if that happens, don't fry your brain with it. Come back and ground yourself. Okay. And so getting a little bit of a nature time. If you're in a snowy place, maybe put on your snow boots and walk around, make a snowman or snow woman, or go snowshoeing, be playful. This is such a time to be playful. Make a snowball and, throw at your neighbor that never smiles at you. No, maybe a happy neighbor. Okay. And so there are major energy shifting. Let's see. Oh, they will come in like a layers. So they will be like a layered cake. There's this German cake that I grew up with, and I don't think you eat this much in the United States, but it's called Baumkuchen. And what that means is like they look like a tree rims inside. So there are layers and layers and layers. So that's kind of what you will feel like. There'll be like layers of opportunities, another layer of like, whoo, this is exciting. Oh, wow, this is like, I really need to reassess this one. So there'll be layers and layers, but it's baking you a beautiful cake. Okay. I'm one of those people that I love cakes more than pies. So I love cakes. So layered cakes is what I'm thinking. And this is really important, right? This is why we're going to be doing the way making, because this is the time that you want to reassess and say, where do I want to put my energy? Where do I want to focus on? Where am I putting my attention to? So this is where, am I putting attention towards my sleep? Am I putting my attention towards self-love? Am I putting attention more towards nourishing my own diet and eating habits? Or am I nourishing my artwork? Or am I paying attention, putting my attention towards my finance, so that you can grow your finance next year, or your reach through websites or Facebook or, whatever have you, right? So don't jump on it, but start to focus on, where do I want to shift my boat towards? Where am I headed towards? And some people put the focus towards anger. I was just working with somebody like last week, and then I actually received the text from this person as well. And she's really angry about what's going on with the COVID and how the government is restricting travels and this and that. And so her attention is focused so much on the anger right now. And that anger really leaves a lot of bitterness in your liver and gallbladder and can be very hard on your fat digestion, hormonal imbalance, because your liver and gallbladder are the ones that are doing that, but also detoxification of heavy metals, which we are all exposed to heavy metals, right? Whether it's lead or arsenic or aluminum or mercury, we are all exposed to this, but that will slow down the process of your detoxifications. If your attention is focused on anger because she can't travel, because of how her government is dealing with, or her, province or her state is dealing with the COVID issues. Okay. So really focus on that. Like say, where's my attention going? Is it towards anger? Is it towards fear? Is it towards love? Is it towards self-care? Okay. All right. It requires you to slow down about it. So it's an inner reorientation time. Okay. Let's see. Because the new horizons are coming up and the new possibilities are coming, but we're in between worlds right now. Okay. And let's see. Yeah. And we are going to be doing this in way making a lot, but we'll be reviewing, revising, and reassessing and cutting cords and shifting towards the relationships that you have with money, relationships that you have with others, maybe status or even place that you're living, maybe your work, your expressions, maybe your job, your career may need to be shifting. So there's a lot that you will need to be actually beginning to do in this time, about another 11 days that we have of this year. Okay. And like I said, into about January 15th in Japan, we do these assessments. So it's not that you're done, you'll be like, okay, December 31st and you're done. You can't do anything about it. It's not like that. Okay. So coming back to this card that I pulled, okay, once again, for those of you that just joined, Between Worlds, okay. The essential meanings, so I'll just read that part. Essential meanings: transitions, not being quite out of one situation and fully engaged in another. Perfect, isn't it? Temporarily blindness, no man's land. So this is what Chris and I have been talking about a lot, which is the liminal space. And it's the threshold, right? That's where we're at. We're in the liminal space. And you might say, oh my gosh, Masami, you've been talking about the liminal space for the entire year. How much of this liminal space? Well, I'm sorry, but the universe doesn't work on a calendar like what we like it to be. It's like, I worked on that in February. You made us work on that in June. And you've been working on that since November. Why do I have to keep working on it? Well, that's because we're being called to work on it. I don't think just for this lifetime, but your layers and layers of a layered cake of your past lives, as well as your ancestors' lives, human lives, all sentient lives, possibly. I don't know, but layers. Okay. So you are in that threshold. You are basically in the liminal right now. So tap into your inner resources, your resiliency, and your own, I wrote it down. Yeah, refuge, right? We talked about refuge a lot, but tap into your inner refuge. What are your inner refuge? And what I mean by that is, for instance, I had this beautiful tree that I grew up with that had one rope hanging from it. And it's like one of those things that you jump on it and you put your legs around it. And then I would go run around and then wrap around this tree and then kick off the tree and go circling around again. And I would do this for sometimes like an hour. But I get into a rhythm of things. So I close my eyes and I know exactly when I need to kick off the tree. So I get into this rhythm. And when I think of that tree with that swing, and me alone right there with the breeze and the massive tree, that's my refuge. Anytime I think of that, I just feel this incredible amount of love and care. And I am not alone. I belong there. I am being watched over. That's what I feel whenever I feel that tree. And all of you have your inner refuge. And maybe it's a place that you go to, maybe a place in your house that you made a sacred space for. Altar, right? We'll be using an altar for the waymaking, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a little walk that you always do. That is your inner refuge. Or maybe a book that you've read already 50 times, so you want to read it again this time of the year. That could be your inner refuge. It could be a picture album that you put together recently with your loved ones, maybe somebody you've lost, but the picture reminds you that person lives in you. Okay, so find your inner refuge. Okay, and I'm going to read a little bit more from her book, the card that I pulled out. Okay, she says the Oracle's message says, between the world is where you must let go of the tendency to make assumptions. This is a time when you're unable to see what is ahead. Cultivate curiosity and trust the process of change and growth. I'm going to read that part. So cultivate curiosity and trust trust the process of change and growth. You are done learning the lessons of recent experiences. In this place, between what was and what will be, is a state of making and unmaking and making again. What is essential now is to admit not knowing. There is great freedom and power to be unleashed. A mystery that is not yours to understand weaves the web of life. Within the divine matrix of consciousness, greater than your own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, desires, and decisions. The seeds that were planted in the past begin to take root, but what surfaces will probably not be what you expect. When you are between the worlds, you are invited to see with the curious eyes of a child glimpsing a rainbow for the first time. Do so and you will not be disappointed. So I thought this was perfect, and I'll pass it to Chris, but I'm just real not surprised. I'm never surprised with the card pulling these days. Well, that's not true. I'm surprised, but it certainly speaks to my soul and my spirit whenever I do this. And I don't just do it all the time either, everyone. Some people pull cards every day. I don't. But then they talk to me. They would say, come visit me. And so last week and this week, I felt really called to pull one of the cards. This was such a perfect segue to what we've been wanting all of you to do, is to take the time for your way making, for your future, but don't abandon your past and this year and what you've learned and how far you've come. Okay, Chris.
Okay. Well, you've certainly been tickling all sorts of thoughts in me with what you just said. One of the things, it makes me want to give spoilers for our waymaking that we're going to be doing, but I'm going to resist the urge. But one of the things that I will say is that this line, which we will be talking about, is that destiny is not what is already made, it's what we are making. Okay, destiny is not what is already made, destiny is what we are making. And this is something, just last night, Masami and I were talking, and you may have picked up already that this is how our conversations go on a daily basis, but we were talking last night about what is different about the approach that Masami takes, or that we talk about together, to maybe what some other people say and do. And one of the things that immediately came to mind for me was the importance of action, taking appropriate measures to respond to what your life is presenting you. And that's so much of what this time is about, is taking stock. It's looking at where have we been This is where this idea of destiny comes in, because it's not a passive thing. It's not something that you just say, oh, I do wish so ever dearly that next year will be better than this year. I mean, we might do that, but the likelihood of it really being all that different in terms of your side of it, probably not too much if you don't change how you think, how you act, how you see things. And so that's what so much of this is about. And, what Masami said about, I have to take notes while she's talking because it just stirs up so many things. She talked about how we have touched on the liminal so much in the past year in particular. I can promise you we'll never stop talking about it. But one of the things to remember is that this liminal space, which we can think of, especially in terms of ritual space, the active part of a ritual is the liminal space. And we'll certainly go back and revisit this during our waymaking. But I'm going to just say a couple of quick things about that. One is that, like what Masami just read and shared, the liminal space is a confusing place to be in. It's disorienting, discombobulating. It's a place of disequilibrium from our normal expectation of things. And so when we feel like we're in this sense of almost tumbling because we've broken free of habit and expectation, cultural, social norms, family expectations, all of these things that normally hold us in a pretty tight shape, all of that gets to break loose in the liminal space. And it just so happens that that's when we are most able to learn. That's when, from an energetic standpoint, from a brain and cognitive neurological standpoint, that's when we are available to learn and to actually do things in new and different ways. And then finally, something that I will be saying more about during waymaking is that the liminal space is also one of the most powerful ways that we access the imaginal, which is the active imagination. It's the active place where we transform ideas into lived experiences. And that's a very key place for that to take shape. So one last comment from me, and that is that this feeling of being at home and belonging is something that it might surprise you where you find it. I just was out for a hike up in the mountains over the week, this past weekend. And I was by myself hiking. There's a little bit of snow on the ground. There were no other tracks except for animals. So I was following some coyote tracks and eventually got away from those and just wandered off into the trees and found a big rocky outcropping where I could see this vista of the Rocky Mountains covered in snow. And it was beautiful. It was so quiet. And just in that moment, that's exactly the feeling that came. It was just that rush of belonging and feeling so connected to the world and through my body, because I was hiking, it's over 10,000 feet elevation there. So I could feel my heart beating and my breath and all of those things, the cold on my skin. And it just was such an amazing feeling to be connected and to take it all in at once. And so that's another thing that we are wanting to remember as we take stock of 2021, so that we know the riches that we're bringing into 2022. And we know that they're part of our foundation as we go forward. All right, pass the mic back to Masami.
Well, and Chris, could you just briefly say that we actually posted some questions on the waymaking for those of you that signed up?
Thanks for reminding me. And I'm going to put the link up. This time it's an active link. The other one, I didn't put the entire URL.
We'll be doing a waymaking on the 30th, everyone. And yeah, go ahead, Chris. We posted questions, so we really welcome people's inputs. Yeah.
For those of you that have already signed up, and for anybody else who signs up, this is part of the interactive piece of it, is we're inviting everyone to respond to 2 different questions. And I'm not going to give up what they are because I want you to find those out. But 2 different questions that we want to help not only stir up the energy that you bring, but also to include that energy into the collective energy. And we'll be using those responses from you as part of the collective altar that we create for the group, and also to fuel some of the discussion and some of the interaction that we have during the retreat.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to maybe ask, those of you that are here today, questions like, what was kind of a defining moment for you this year that made you grow a little bit more in loving who you are? So I was just asked in the interview about love, and it's just this idea that everything is love, if you can tap into love. And I started to say that there are many layers to the word love, also the expressions of love. And I'm curious if you had a moment, or even many moments, but that you actually said, oh, dearest me, I so love and adore you. If you had moments like that this year, I'd love to read about it in the chat. Because I think we tend to just look for love that is outside of us, the love that comes from outside, and maybe somebody else is supposed to give love, or the universe has to give love, God has to give love. Yes, that's true, meaning there's always love available. But when was a moment that you can think of that said, oh, I so love you, meaning me? And saying, I love the word adore. I love the word adore. I adore you, that moment. What was that for you? And I'm just curious. Yeah.
Because this is, I have to acknowledge, this is a really challenging question, because I'll speak for myself. I know.
Well, and hold on, Chris. I didn't even plan this. I don't know where that came from even. I just asked. I'm like, why did I ask that? I think I needed to think about that. Yeah.
Well, it's a challenge because the way you put it, I put it up in the chat for everyone, sort of a paraphrase of what Masami said. And if you answer, maybe you can also give a little example too. That might be an interesting thing for us to see.
Yeah, and let's get a little bit more nitty gritty with it. Okay, so please don't talk from kind of like 30,000 foot kind of an answer, everyone. I mean, when did you feel that? Like there's an event, maybe there was a walk you did, maybe there's a sunset you saw, something little bit more, something that the body can grab onto and taste it again. Does that make sense? I want your body to taste the deliciousness, the yumminess of that moment. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
No, it's okay. I just, the reason why for me this is a hard question is because so much of the way I grew up and learned to think about self-love, one, you don't do that. That's just that's prideful. It's something that's maybe even sinful because you're thinking too much of yourself, and so you don't do that to yourself. That's done by others to you, and then hopefully you behave in a way that they see enough of the good in you to reflect it back. I mean, that was the poverty mindset that I grew up in, is that you're not that good, so just don't even think that way. And I'll give an example for me, which was surprising that this came to mind. I can actually think of 2 or 3 off the top of my head, but I'm going to stick with my first one. And that was, we referenced this before. There was this long bathroom project that I took on at our house. It was the final bathroom. We've been redoing our house for over 12 years. And this was the last room in the house that hadn't been touched. And the only reason that my hand was forced is because we figured out that there'd been a slow leak that, we've talked about this. It was molding, it was water damage in the floor and the walls. But anyway, I was standing in the middle of this huge mess at one point. I'd ripped out the walls, the tiles, the floor down to the studs. I was standing in this room, and the first thing that hit me was disgust, because it was just kind of yucky. But the second thing is, as I was looking around, is I realized, hang on a second, I know how to do everything here. I know how to do every single step that it takes to finish this. And it was realizing that I had come from being a complete ignorant, soft-handed academic to being somebody that knew how to fix houses over this period of time. And that was a really striking moment for me. And it was surprised me, not only how there was a sense of pride, but also just like, good job, you know. It's like you survived it, you figured it out, and now you can get this one done too. So that was a simple example for me. And now I'll go back to the chat, because I see that people are starting to share now.
That was awesome, Chris. You just made me cry.
Yeah, me almost tear up a little even thinking about it, because just so you all know, the first time when we started doing our house project, about a month, I had just quit my job as a school administrator. About a month, I'd gotten my last paycheck from that job about a month before we tore up our entire house. And about a month after that, we happened to be at one of Masami's clients' weekend getaway retreat places with some other people. And I was shaking hands with these people that we'd never met before. And one of them was shaking my hand, and she stopped and started sort of caressing my hand. And she was saying, "Oh, your hands are so soft. What do you do?" And I was kind of taken aback, because at that moment I was unemployed, and we had just taken on this gigantic, unbelievably complex and expensive house project, which was very quickly falling to me to finish. And so at that moment, I mean, the shock of that realization was really hitting me. And so that was the difference between that moment where I was just standing probably, a few months ago in that mess I'd created, and then having the awareness that I had come to the point where I knew how to get myself out of it, and that I would. So, okay, there's the context. Let me go back to Andrew says, first of all, Andrew, just to say this, he was the first one to respond, and then he also followed up after I said to share an example. So he said, knowing I create my own reality and have the power. And he said the context of that was healing from my car accident and the journey to be back to a new normal for me. Okay, so great. Diana says, I've realized I love to create more than anything. That's source expressing through me. When I allow myself to create, I vibrate with joy. That's pure yumminess for me. I think Masami and I can totally relate to that yumminess. And that's something that we are making space for and time for forever after now. I mean, that's really what the future is, as far as we can have anything to say about it, is to have more of that creative yumminess. Mm-hmm. Linda says, 18 months ago, I started to give little me lots of love and attention and care. This practice over the months have made me appreciate the present me, the me now, the adult me, with deep gratitude that I am here now and able to experience this life of mine. I often praise myself. Well done, me. Thanks, Linda.
Well done, you, Linda. Mm-hmm.
Mary says, reacting to a moment when my husband was about to leave this world before any of the doctors had a clue. Yeah. You have to be present to catch those moments. And there's real, this is when we get to see beauty at its finest, because it's those fleeting moments of unexpected noticing that happen just so spontaneously when, whoa, it's real. and look at it, and it's passing right before my eyes. So thank you for sharing that. Pauline says, I was able to acquire a beautiful single-story house in a sylvan setting near my son's home, even though 13 people were bidding on it. I just knew I would garner this house. Well, you should be proud of that in this housing market.
Oh, I just got this like electric like energy coming through me when Chris read that. This is amazing, Pauline. Fabulous. Yes, you're doing it. You're living the cosmic flow. This is living the cosmic flow. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. They're still.
Yeah.
So Claudette says, was dismayed by an interaction with another and felt, oh, truly alone. No one loves me. And suddenly I quieted the mind and felt an amazing rush of my soul embracing me, as if it was a loving pillow of softness, of love. And I felt like I could and did feel it offering me love and compassion and kindness toward me, assuring me of its love, shocking lovingly.
Wow. Love that.
Okay, Marilyn says, I went to my son's wedding in SoCal in October. A lot of anxiety about traveling and meeting so many new people. Once there, the wedding was such a special event. Love was in the air, and I relaxed enough to experience the love and joy of this sacred event. I'm noticing a theme here. Maybe it's because you set us up for a nice theme, but isn't it amazing how when we just pause and clear the chatter, it's like this dust cloud that our mind produces. When we can just stand clear of that, what we can feel and experience that's already there. Okay, Lisa says, I've been doing a morning and evening practice each day before going to sleep and immediately upon waking, and I really am feeling more connected and loved, and it continues to be ongoing.
Mm-hmm. I think the key word is the ongoing, right? The healing is not a journey that you say, been there, done that, and it doesn't move in a linear fashion either. And it's like a fractal, and it's fractal that swirls, it just like moves and moves. And each time you learn something new and you go, oh, I have the tool for that. And then I will go to the next, and then it'll be another challenging time, but you have learned something from it, and you move in these like a swirling waves of fractals. And that's why I don't want any of you to say, been there, done that, I've tried it. No, maybe you can try it from a different vibrational place today. Then maybe that supplement that you abandoned a while back might work this time, right? So I've said this maybe a couple of weeks ago, but I said, it's like for women, it's like shoe shopping, right? You don't try 3 pairs of shoes and say, oh, they don't fit, forget it, I'm just going to go home barefoot. You're not going to do that. I know you have the resiliency to find the right pair of shoes. So you do the same with your healing and your journey. Don't give up. Keep trying a different pair till they fit. And then maybe sometimes they don't fit anymore. They go out of style. Then you try a new one, but you got to keep going. Yeah.
So there's several more I'm going to keep reading. And I just want to remind everyone, we could probably pick any day of the year to do this. It's nice to do it toward the end of the year and realize what has been there for us all along. But this is a really nice way to capture just some of that feeling and say, okay, whatever happened this year, however difficult it was, there's still these incredible moments. And so I'm going to read Sue's next. She says, my husband passed away. In the morning of his funeral, I walked outside in our backyard to take the dogs out to go to the bathroom. And the sun was rising gloriously in the east. The moon was still out in the south, and all of a sudden a flock of geese flew right over our garage, over my head, honking and curling their wings right over my head. I almost cried, but felt really seen and noticed, and so very loved in that amazing moment. Thank you for sharing that. That's a powerful place to be right there.
Yeah. And I think so many of us are suffering and struggling because we don't feel like we're being seen and we're not being heard. Right. So I hope you are listening to these comments and listening in, and know that we see you, we hear you. I see you, Sue. Mm,
And yet, most of these experiences are happening alone. I want you to notice that. These really powerful moments are often out of sight of anybody but ourselves. And that's really where so much of the meaning and the fuel for our souls comes from, is from this alone time, this connection that we can only have with ourselves. So, Richard says, recently while watching a podcast, which was put on by the chairman of our tribe, I realized that I wouldn't be going to the state of Washington to get an award for my poetry. There were too many signs for me to stay in California. Right after the podcast was over, I checked my emails. There, I found an email from the host of an online TV show. He wanted me to be on a show 2 days later. I knew then that that was the best way for me to express myself. It's the very expression of one door closing and another opening.
yeah.
Juliet says, before I moved from Arizona to Asheville this year, I knew I didn't want to bring my 40 years of journals with me because the love I had built for myself was strong enough to let the journals go. I did a ceremony, and there was deep gratitude and love for the work I had done to be where I am. I let the journals go, and the past did not come with, but my self-love did come. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Wow, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
And
You better keep up, Chris.
we'll get
there
there.
are more coming. Yeah.
So we'll get
Let's get to Mary Barbara.
this kind of strange and hopefully not too negative, but it happened the other day because I feel so ill and alone lately. And I was in a sensory deprivation tank the other day, and something made me sit up and hug myself so tight and really cry. And I felt so much love for myself that I promised myself I'd never leave myself again. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a
Wow. Yeah.
Those isolation tanks you bring everything with you. And it's not always easy to find the loving thread when everything else that makes noise in your head comes with you. That's a powerful one. Carla says, I fell and broke my left wrist. Some medication or something else unknown caused a simple surgery under anesthesia to all organs in my body shutting down. And I had to decide if I was going to let go of life or fight for my life in a loving way. Obviously, I decided to stay, and really glad I have.
And we are too, Carla. Thank you for staying. Yeah. Thank you for loving you to stay.
We have time for a few more.
Mm-hmm.
Sally says, during a guided meditation, the leader suggested ways of focusing inward, follow breath, a mantra, self-love. And I had this opening of my heart when self-love was suggested. I thought, I can actually do that. Not be so particular about getting it right, the focus, but just open up to the love within.
These are all so delicious. I feel like I'm standing in front of like in dessert table, you get to choose all these different desserts, mostly cake for me, but I feel like that. I get to taste all these little sweets.
I don't know if you caught it earlier, but Richard said that the casino, the tribal casino, they have a Michael Jordan steakhouse with a 27-layer cake that you would have to try sometime.
Okay.
Oh, I love to paint and see how source shows up through me. So much love.
Mm, mm.
And Lynn says, I hug myself and ask, body, what do you need today? Before sleep, lying in bed, I put one hand on my heart and one on my hara and say, thank you, body, and send it love. I reached out and got a yes, I'd love to my dream co-author for the book I'm writing. It feels so good to have a partner to share it all with and a professional writer to learn from.
Yeah, good for you, Lynn. Keep up the good work, but don't push your body too much. I know you are not feeling that great. So sending you love, Lynn.
Okay, so Deborah says, when I trusted guidance and said yes to doing something related to my higher purpose in the world and stepped up to follow the guidance, all support that would be required fell miraculously into place. As it unfolded, it all felt so light and right.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, a couple more. Marilyn says, I've experienced a lot around seeking external validation and feeling confident and safe and trusting my internal knowing. In the many layers, there is so much conditioning that this journey has been a digging out of sorts. There was a moment recently when I spoke my truth. At first, I felt shame for rocking the boat, and am now feeling care and appreciation and have a deep understanding that speaking my truth is my path forward.
Amen to that. Mm.
That's actually, there's a lot more to say about that one, about the boats that need rocking in the coming year, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, and I'm not sure who the iPhone user is, but it says, this year, I love myself more because I'm doing things that scare me. So here we go. Things like this participating, expressing my emotions and thoughts. I have so much to share. Thank you. Carmen.
Yay, I was hoping that you were going to say who you were, Carmen. This is great.
Yeah.
You're no longer hiding behind the name called iPhone. So this is great. And then what Carmen wrote is what, you know, even though I asked the question, I was really having a hard time answering the question myself. And I realized that when I felt like the adornment, yeah, is it adornment? Is that what's it called? Adore something. Say it.
It would probably be the better way to say that.
Say again.
Admiration.
Admiration. Yeah, but it's more like I just adore who I am.
Right.
I can't hear you, Chris.
Adoration.
That's the word. That's the word that I was thinking. Okay. Is when I finally took the plunge to be on camera and to really, in whatever way I can, start to speak up. And even today, Chris said to me, I came out of 2 interviews today and he said, how did it go? And I said, oh, great. You know, I talked about this. And then he goes, you know, you are really stepping into your own voice and in your message. And I am not like matching up with what they want to talk about or matching up with what the topic is that they want to guide me towards. I'm really staying true to my own path. And I just want to say, to me, it's like, you know, I was called Machan growing up, so I'm just going to call myself Machan. But what that means is like a, you know, you'll call Mike, Mikey kind of thing. So in Japan, we put the word Chan, Chan, after a girl's name. And so Masami, so my name is Ma-chan, right? So I would talk to myself. And right now I'd love to just say, Ma-chan, I'm so proud of you. Ma-chan, you're sticking with your message. Ma-chan, you might be the only person getting interviewed that will talk about how important it is to go to the bathroom and have a good poop. It's still, you've got to talk about it. And yeah, I adore that part of who I am, that I'm not afraid to speak up for this body, that I have become the spokesperson for this body, particularly in the spiritual community. And for that, I love you, Machan. Yeah.
I want to also just publicly, for all of you here, I want to acknowledge Masami in front of everyone, because I really think I live with her, so I get to see this, and it's both a blessing and a challenge for me personally, not living with her, but because of how she lives. And I just want to say, I want to acknowledge that I don't know anyone else ever. I've never known anybody who so single-mindedly puts their focus to something and then finds a way to make it happen. And so she has done this so many times. I'll just confine it to this year, but in the time I've known her, so nearly 20 years, I've seen her do this again and again and again, where she says, I'm going to do that. She gets the idea and she says, I'm going to do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make that happen. And she does. And I have to say that it is not by sitting back and hoping for the best. She goes out and gets it done. And it's also not about just trying to claw her way to wherever she's trying to get to. What I want to acknowledge is how much she has used resources around her this year, networking with people, finding connections with other people, including all of you here. And all of you have been such an important part of that growth and development that I've gotten to watch firsthand here. So I thank all of you, and I also thank you, Masami, for leading this and guiding this and being a beacon, because you've really shown how to do it. And even in times of doubt, you've stuck with it and still stayed your course. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you. Amen, Pauline. Yes. And thank you for all of you to show up practically every Monday. And we've been able to cover so many topics. It's been so much fun. I think what we'll be doing, as I said, we haven't quite decided. And because I'm not going to create a membership site, but we won't be doing a Monday every Monday, but we will do as many as we are able. And we'll just stay in touch, because I have a lot of like workshops and things that I would like to create for next year. And a lot of invitations are coming. So that's how you can stay in touch with me as well. And then those interviews are all free, as you know. So they will always be coming to your inboxes, and spread the word. I know we're kind of like a small timers, but then I get invited to like big timer people's places. And I'm always like, I only have a not a huge amount of email list, but they're like, no, we don't care. We want you in. So somehow, this little Machan gets it done. So I guess my feistiness, my resiliency, my energy, and my cosmic flow is working. And I hope that you can see that in both of us, that we are not just throwing information at you. We really live this. Like, I'm literally the person that's going outside and saying good morning to the sunshine every morning, even in the snow. I'm doing breath work. I'm doing like movements. I am literally dry brushing. Like, I'm taking cold shower at the end of my warm bath or something. I am literally doing them. And I hope you can see, for those of you that have been following me since I started putting myself out there, which wasn't that long ago, that when you begin to take care of your breath and your lungs and your heart, and you feed your brain with the right nourishment and digest, and then you take care of your liver and gallbladder, and you start to balance your hormones, and then you're taking good probiotics, digestive enzymes, and then you're able to go to the bathroom every morning, things starts to flow for you. I swear by this, okay? I am living proof of that. I really am. So I hope you can see that, okay? And we are here for you. We'll continue. And for those of you, hopefully many of you can join the Waymaking, join us, and let's celebrate this year before we hop on over to the year of Tiger. And then we'll be back for some of our Monday calls. Okay. Thank you, Chris. You have anything else to say before?
Something that popped up in the chat from Mary Barbara, and I just want to say, she said, I asked an angel intuitive about Masami, and she said so many nice things, but one of the cutest was something like, she overgives so much that when you open the cupboard doors, you'll find something. She even stored extra little things in there for you. And that's kind of true, actually. You know? Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? It's endless, everyone. When you're in a cosmic flow, you got springs coming out of the bubbles coming out. It's endless. You will stop saying, oh, I'm going to give just this much and I'm not going to give this much. Or, you stop hoarding in your life and it feels great. It feels so good to give and to receive and to know that you will never run out of things to talk about and to share. And I'm not going to run out of things to talk about because I love ascension, but also I love descending into who I am. And there's so much of this Machan being is teaching me every day. Okay. So be with you, love yourself. Find a moment this week to adore you. I mean, adore you, not just love you, but just adore yourself, just like you adored like the teddy bear that you used to have as a little kid, little child, the little doll that you dressed up, that you adored. You can sleep without that doll. Adore you as much or more. We love you. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you soon. Bye.